Africa.
Nice.
I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Amazing.
And I'm in California.
Yeah.
I think we're meant to cover that part in the live call. We're jumping the gun.
That's okay. I think we're all good. So I'm super excited, very grateful. It's amazing to connect with all of you. Please, 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 first and foremost, the way kind of that this works is really focusing on how we're all, it's an open discussion meant to really how we're initiating impact, creating change, navigating opportunities in today's conscious entrepreneur world. And, maybe briefly, I'll get everybody to kind of share a little bit about themselves, where they're at, and what's kind of the reason for you to get into business. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. My name's Shaw, and I'm in Santa Barbara, California. The reason to get into business, well, there's two reasons. Number one is because Meijing and I are working towards this vision, towards changing the way young people take action in the world. And but that's kind of thrown me into having to go into business. But once I started to grasp the concepts and start to do some of the entrepreneurial stuff, I just realized it kind of came naturally to me. So that's why I'm here.
I
You want to
don't
pick
mind
somebody
going.
else? Yes, amazing. Please.
So my name is Crystal, and I'm from South Africa with my partner next to me, Robin. And I went into my graphic design business because I used to work in corporate and I wasn't happy with the way that corporate was treating me. I almost felt like a robot in the system, and I just didn't really feel valued, and I was just worked, everything was all about deadlines and nothing really revolved around health or wellness or how you feeling each day. It's all like do, and even weekends sometimes, and you never get that break. So I really felt myself guided to. It was actually in COVID, so it was about 3 years ago. I completely decided to start my own business. I first started going solo, so just freelancing, until I met Robin, who's next to me here, and he actually inspired me to go for it and like hire people, and he really like made me feel like I can believe in myself to do that. I don't just have to be solo, and I can connect and make the bigger picture of what I really, really want to do. So yeah, that's just my little start to the journey.
Yeah. So just to introduce myself briefly, Robin, we're actually in Johannesburg at the moment. So my journey of entrepreneurship has actually been a lifelong journey, and I've always been in some form of business for myself alongside a job. But sort of middle of last year, decided that it's time to make a commitment, and took this plunge of committing to being a full-time entrepreneur. We in the wellness space, so that's where the focus is. And it talks to basically what Crystal's been sharing, that, the corporate space, specifically in Johannesburg, has become quite a stressful, toxic environment. And wellness is much needed in that space. So that's where my focus is at the moment. And the reason to be on this call, well, my beautiful partner here invited me, so I can't say no to that. But actually, any opportunity to share and just to give insights and also learn, I think that's what we need as entrepreneurs today. Consciously leading this new environment, this new world that we're in, requires connection, it requires love, and that's what we do on these type of forums, I suppose. Yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Who do you guys want? Do you want to pick somebody?
All right.
Next?
I can go next if you want. My name is Thomas. I'm 28.
Please.
Not sure if the connectivity is right. Let me know if it's too laggy. I can try to move
You're
before we
great.
go live.
You're great. We can hear you amazing.
Is it good? All right. I was invited by my friend of 5 or 6 years, I believe, Beijing. We met in Toronto at a leadership forum, actually. So it all goes back 360 degrees to the leadership concept. Why I got into business, I basically was born into a family of entrepreneurs and was always working in family enterprise, never in a leadership position myself. Always try to act from behind the scenes or in the second row, so to say. Up until 2 years ago, when my father unexpectedly passed away, and I, from out of nowhere, inherited 8 companies. And I didn't really know what to do with them with my political science degree. So in the face of adversity, I had to find out the hard way how to get the companies running again in an economy as fragile as the one that I live in Argentina. But I think I've managed well, and I found a new passion in employing people and creating jobs. So that's my new mantra. And just FYI, because the other people who shared what industry they're coming from, I come from the agricultural industry myself, and I'm currently running the largest pecan plantation here in Argentina.
In where?
Pecan nuts in Argentina.
Amazing. Cool. Amazing.
Very different.
Seguitas, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, man. Good morning again, or good afternoon. The question is interesting. Can you say it again? Like, why did I get into business?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting listening and thinking, what is the why? Well, I guess the reason is somewhere deep inside of my nature. I've been an entrepreneur since I can remember. Literally, I would be, as a child, selling, buying and selling all kind of stuff from probably 6 years old. I was an entrepreneur, you know, like I sold chickens, I sold plants, chewing gums, fireworks, all kind of stuff when I was a child. And I think all that led me to be and think entrepreneurial and to take care of myself first, so I can function, I can express, and I can lead my life. And yeah, creating jobs, as Thomas said, it became also at some point a great passion, and it was fun until it was not fun anymore. Yeah, and now I'm in some ways I see as a retired for, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years, been traveling around the world, and now with Eric we creating something which is kind of leans backwards to entrepreneurship. Yeah, and many other projects I'm involved, mainly working at the moment as a Bitcoin visionary counselor. Pretty much that's what I do, and building rockets, some people already know. So playing with life, yeah, and using and sharing my wisdom. Yeah, that's what I can do.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. You're
So
amazing.
just to summarize, you said the question is, why do we want to get into why did we get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, why did you want to get into entrepreneurship? Kind of what spurred that? What was the reason, and where you're at?
Yeah, so the why kind of came from the heart, from the passion of, like Seguitas was saying, just the selling and doing and creating, that feeling of having that empowerment to create and not being held back. I think that's a passion that just naturally flows out of me. So that's kind of the path that naturally follows entrepreneurship. Yeah, so I again also come from a corporate background, so I'm very much used to that, or used to be used to that, holding you back. No, don't do it like that. They put down your ideas. So entrepreneurship is just a great opportunity to create with such an expansive mind and say, we can do this, we can do that. Nobody can really stop you except your own limited mindset. So I just love the expansiveness that entrepreneurship brings to the space and how we can create anything we want and inspire the people around us, the people that we're employing, the team members that we're attracting to really build a better world, right? So we have the power to change and transform the world around us when we have our own businesses that we can run, or our own movements that we can lead. And we don't have to be bogged down by a centralized power of a head, a president. No, don't do it like this, don't do it like that. So just that freedom and that empowerment to be able to create is really what drives me to become an entrepreneur and build on my own. And yeah, so we can create how we want to create. And that's the most exciting. Having a playground that is just open and you can run, you can walk, you can crawl, you can do whatever you want. There's no rules. And I think that's the most beautiful part about entrepreneurship.
So amazing. And I think that that's the biggest reason why I got into it too, is like it's like an art, right? It's like weaving and painting your own reality and allowing this artistic expression to fully come to life by putting people together, putting projects together, putting a community together, putting experiences together. And it's interesting because, you know, the more that we realize, at least from my perspective, the more that we realize that it is an art form, the more we encourage, from my perspective, again, we encourage others to shine. And I think that that's the infinite level of abundance, at least in the new way of thinking. Because actually, maybe I'll ask you guys, you guys and gals, what do you feel, you know, is different from what have you seen in the past as incongruencies to a free market versus how you would like to see a capitalistic market to look like? And what is that shift that can happen now more than ever from your perspectives? Please.
I don't know, go ahead. I think what big tech and the latest tech revolution has allowed for entrepreneur-minded people to change from the status quo or from the past century is that now we have what May mentioned, these sandboxes, toolboxes at hand through YouTube tutorial videos, through online courses. It's very decentralized, very democratized, if you want. Anybody can have access to a high-level course, to a masterclass, and you don't necessarily rely on the big schools anymore. You don't necessarily rely on going through university during 4 years anymore. And I think that would allow for more remote areas or less densely populated areas, or maybe areas that were not influenced by big urban centers, to have more grassroots entrepreneurship growing out of nowhere, basically. And I think that's a huge opportunity because obviously this also drives, right next to a busy street, creating a lot of work also. This obviously also drives, you know, one business competing against the other in a smaller area, which can only increase quality, service, products. And just to build up on what Sigitas was saying earlier, one thing that gets you into entrepreneurship, even if you start from zero and you have no background knowledge whatsoever, is that you're convinced of the service or the product that you sell. If you're convinced of what you're selling or what you're producing, what you're creating, and you're not employed by a big corporation that maybe doesn't really care so much about the product, only that you sell it, I think that's where the drive comes from. It's something that you created, you've come up with, you've realized, you've taken an idea, taken a concept and put it into practice, either materialistic or as a service. And that's what you sell, something that came, if you want, out of yourself. And that's the change I see right now.
I agree.
Go for it, Meetup.
No, Robin, you can go. I'm just agreeing.
Okay, so yeah, I was just thinking, Eric, your question sort of took me to, what didn't work in the past, and I think there's been a lot of barriers to entry as an entrepreneur, and I think what we need now more than ever is to make being an entrepreneur the most attractive thing to do with your life. Because if every living being on this planet becomes the best version of themselves, the most potent, creative person, and they all have the ability and, just the desire to make that into a business. Imagine the problems we'll be solving. Imagine the beautiful products and services we'd be having. Imagine, just the opportunities are endless. So for me, that would be the big game changer. Everyone to become an entrepreneur. That's where we need to go.
And I feel like we stuck in a lot of fear and dependability on the system as well. And we need to get out of that space of fear and feeling like we have to depend on other people. I feel like we are only limited by our minds. If our minds say we can do something, then we can do it. So the first thing we need to do is focus on our minds and almost rewiring our brain so that we can enable ourselves to think in that limitless way and see the bigger picture and really feel that big picture and that things are possible and get out of that limited mindset. So I think that's like step number one.
Absolutely. Yeah, so just to piggyback, I guess I continue. So like Crystal and Robin are saying, why we've been held back so much is just that societal norms that we've been conditioned to think for so long. Your grandparents, your parents, your great-great-grandparents. And Shaw and I were talking about this, like, why is it that hundreds, centuries, millennials, like so many years of our generations, grandparents, so many ancestries have never made the change? Why is it now that we come together in this group, sit here to want to make that change? What is it? What is it different now than it was yesterday? Why weren't they able to do it before? And it's a question that really makes you ponder and really makes you want to go, it makes you go back and start connecting the dots. And one of the things that I can really connect and see is that conditioning has kept people in that secure, like Crystal, exactly what Crystal was saying, that fear that I'll just stay here because I have to feed my family and it's just the safest thing to do. They hold the security in a system that's broken, that is really controlling their emotions, but they don't see it. They're putting so much power in that instead of saying, I don't need you. I am my own power. And now we're starting to see it. I feel like this whole COVID shift really woke people up because they started realizing that they've been fooled. A lot of them have realized it, but they still don't have that vehicle to jump into. They feel like, oh yeah, I see there's something different. I want to go. Where do I jump? I need a vehicle. And entrepreneurship is just, it's that vehicle. But the thing about entrepreneurship, it takes a lot of courage. It takes strategy. It takes a collective group of us to feel supported. So it takes a collectiveness to create something beautiful off of an entrepreneurship venture. So this is why what we're doing here is so powerful, because we're coming together and we're building this collectiveness where we're going to be able to bring people that looking for vehicles and they don't know, and they're going to come in and we're going to say, shine, you can shine. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to create? We support you. And I think the youth is the future. And that's why we're so focused with youth as the movement, because it's our next generation. So yeah, I feel like there's a shift that's happening. People feel it. There's an energy shift, and we want to be that vehicle where they can jump and say, I'm supported. I can do this.
That's absolutely right. If I may, Meijing, I would like to add on to it and play devil's advocate for a second. You asked, why didn't the previous generations do something about it? Why didn't they meet like this, like we're doing right now? And I think there are some external factors that didn't allow for them to do so. For example, Zoom was not existent. You know, that somebody from Santa Barbara, South Africa, Argentina, all connected wants to discuss an idea is something that they didn't count with, that was not within their realm of possibilities. And that's why it's important to point it out, because it would be a huge mistake if we didn't take these opportunities to do so ourselves. I think we don't have the burden of having to build up a new life from zero after 2 devastating world wars, which did a lot of damage to our economies and to our livelihoods. Talking about our culture, our Western civilization, the previous generations had to focus more on the essentials maybe, and on how to live. They had to ponder, like Meijing said, but about how they would get to 100 years. And maybe we are too used to the comfort of our wealthy nations right now, especially in the West. But it's also true that Meijing mentioned the COVID pandemic. And I think a lot of people are very comfortable depending on somebody to give them a job and to give them something to do. But most of us who are not comfortable living a Groundhog's Day until the end of our days realized that in the pandemic. We said, I don't want to do this until I'm 90. I need to do something else. I need to get moving. I need to get out of my home. I need to create stuff. And I think the new technologies bundled together with the opportunities and the opening of eyes that the pandemic brought to us is what kind of contrasts starkest difference with the previous generations. So the big mistake would be if we didn't see this and take this opportunity, take these advantages that we have vis-a-vis our previous ancestors, if you want. So having a tool sitting on your table and not using it is the actual mistake. That's why I'm so happy that I was invited to this, because otherwise I would be doing something else and not hearing the back and forth and the feedback from people around the world who in some way or the other face the same challenges in a maybe completely different environment, a different language with a different currency, but the idea is the same, and the drive behind it is the same. I have no idea about cosmetics. I don't live in a camper like Sigitas does, but the motivation that brought us here is the same. And I think that possibility to learn from different experience, from different realities that somehow connect with a red thread through it is what we should take advantage more of than what our peers might do. I know what you think about this, Eric.
Well, I love what you're sharing, and I think it's very important to really have compassion for our previous predecessors, because they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had. And you're right, there's an element of war, famine, economic displacement that they just didn't even know they didn't even know. And what's beautiful about our experience of life and the decisions that we get to make right now is we get to actually we can inform and offer and invite people to illuminate a new way of thinking, or a different way of thinking, or a different paradigm. And this is, I think, why we've been chosen in many ways to follow a path that is new and unique. But it's also important for us to show that we can come together, so that it's not about one of us or any of us, it's about all of us. And I think there's a huge responsibility in that. There's a huge ability to help people understand that we are illuminating a path that is common. It's part of a collective awareness, and that it has nothing to do with any of us, but in fact, it is to do with all of us, because we are a voice, right? And it allows one another to shine, and it creates a level of security for those that maybe haven't thoughts outside of themselves in the past, right? Because they're able to see that we're shining together. So it gives them almost the permission to say, hey, you know, like, okay, maybe I can open up. Maybe I could feel safe here. Maybe I could feel what I really feel. Maybe I can start to feel, you know? And that becomes a really beautiful place for people. It allows them to tap into their innocence because now they're seeing that, wow, these people are safe. I feel heard. I feel understood. And so I believe that that's a huge part. And you mentioned like a vehicle, you know, entrepreneurship, you know, amazing. But I think there's more to that than entrepreneurship. And I think, you know, for myself, and I'll speak for myself, the element of integrating and understanding the economy was such an important component of the vehicle. And I always talk about the importance of the vehicle. And, you know, this is why Seguita's, you know, such a key integrator for me, is because even though you have the awareness, right? Even though you have the resilience, even though you have the desire, if you're in a system that's broken, and now we know that it's broken and there's awareness that's broken, well, then you need to have the awareness of a new system, and you need to have the understanding of how to integrate your creativity, your entrepreneurial desires, your passion, your purpose into a system that can actually be built with permissionless, with integrity, with opportunity. And maybe Sagitas, you want to touch on that and see, you know, what really inspired you to get into that type of new system or new philosophy. I can't hear you, bro. You're muted.
Thank you. I'm looking how to tie it to Bitcoin entrepreneurship, and the one question came in the beginning to ask me, Jing, when you were presenting yourself. You said that this entrepreneurship it brings freedom, and you can do what you want. And for me, it came this question when you were saying that, what kind of limitations these days you bounce into as entrepreneurs? Like literally, there is a lot of it's so far away from freedom. You probably all know, since you're entrepreneurs, so it comes with a huge amount of responsibility. And yeah, like maybe you want to jump in, Meijing, and answer to this. Like, what is the main rules that is in biggest obstacles in entrepreneurship today? Because there must be not one.
Yeah, I mean, one is obviously the geopolitics. They tie us down with laws and regulations, and don't sell it like this, don't sell it like that. Don't the geopolitics of being able to grow is one, but most importantly, I think, is the economics, the fact that you're like having to fight, and you're fighting every day to sell whatever service or product against to make money, a fiat money, I guess, that's like deflating, and it's constant like battle. Like you're just like you're working against something that's supposed to be working for you and with you. And same with the government, and anything that's the bigger entities that are really tying us down. And just looking at, for example, the college system, the university system, and how it all is built to get you out of an education with very large debt, and now you can't be an entrepreneur because you have $80,000 in debt. So you have to go into a corporate job to pay that money, because there's monthly payments now that have interest. So it's like the whole system overall is really bogging down the free spirit of saying, I'm just gonna open up a lemonade stand, you know, because I have no debt, I have no concerns, I can do it, I'm supported. So it's just a system that's been how it's been built for forever. That's really restraining our freedom.
Yeah,
And I want to
you.
add another challenge and maybe have Crystal say something about it, that she's had the experience in her industry. I think one of the big challenges today is, especially if your project or if your company is online, is that you're immediately exposed to public scrutiny a millionfold. If you were a baker in the Middle Ages and you would open up your new baking shop, you would maybe have your circle of friends who would support you, and some stinky neighbor who would say, "Oh, your bread tastes like shit." But now you're doing let's say, an online shop, and you can, before even having to start to sell something, you can have 100 people giving you negative Google reviews for no reason if they team up against you. And if you're not strong-willed and you're not convinced about your idea, the public scrutiny that you're exposed to online can do a lot of damage. First of all, mentally, physically, psychologically, but also it can ruin you because other people read these reviews or these bad impressions, and maybe they won't even try it.
Social pressure.
Social pressure,
Or
exactly.
competition. Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge nowadays, especially for newcomers who only start out from zero.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Like you mentioned, Meijing, also like geopolitics and economics, which is like tax and all kind of bullshit, yada yada, just never endless papers and difficult to figure it out what is what in the end, and just start like the people just starts complying to it when the rules of the game, very simple. I try to put it simple, right? When the rules of the game is always changing, it's not fun to play the game anymore. It becomes a burden. It becomes like, why I can say this, because I've been an entrepreneur, and I am in Sweden. I'm running the company together with two people, and we're doing like 10 million euros turnover, and we're barely scraping by because of the taxes, because of a lot of geopolitics involved, which does have nothing to do with our services, what we provide, and it's just constant mystery and constant unknown that leads to that confusion from the top down. But so when the CEOs and the owners of the company cannot understand what the fuck is going on here anymore, like we're doing as we did before, but just like we go negative and negative and negative, like what's going on here? And then we try to search for the problems in our circle of, let's say, owners, and then maybe employees is the problem, maybe like the customers is the problem, where it's difficult to find it, to point it out, and it takes a lot of studies to figure it out, that the system is broken. As you've been mentioning, the system is so broken and designed and covered in so many noise that is difficult to figure it out what is what. Therefore, when I discovered Bitcoin, it just became very clear. It's very easy. Like the white paper is 9 pages. You read that, you kind of should get main points. Then there is another, like there's so many aspects about Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? For example, it has incentives that is gonna be playing through another 120 years. We know the rules of the game we play. We know what we have. We know what we are all. And we're not even competing anymore. Like, well, we all know what we have, so there's no point of like, oh, I'm gonna have a bigger piece. No, it's kind of, it doesn't matter. At least we know we have a language of integrity. We build on a healthy incentives. What like healthy in my way of understanding what is healthy, and is just what is like one big part of it that is very beautiful. The way I try to express is that the human negative sides, or like negative wishes or whatever, is decoded from that system. So it's like eliminated. It just there's no point of manipulate. There is no point of try to compete. Even it's rather we go together. Now we know the game. Let's play. And that's where I feel the true entrepreneurship will start flourishing and more. And I've been noticing that through years of studying Bitcoin and being a part of community. And what I noticed in for example, Eric, I can bring you to this to tie it up. Then we had a conversation with Eric maybe a few months ago, and I know Eric's deep core of who he is, and we spend time and we learned about each other. And I know he does all the practices he needs to do, so he's very spiritual, taking care of himself, and still in this position where deep inside he was suffering because of that. He was trying to come in the new organization and change or impact the culture towards the good, but it's just not possible because the culture is broken by the broken system. And I'm not saying that the people are bad or whatever. It's just the race for money became such a trap. And Eric can jump in, and like so maybe it's for you better. What do you see the biggest shift in that transition or realization that now we have a vehicle where we all can just jump in and start building the future pretty much from the scratch?
Yeah, this for me was actually it was suffering, because it didn't matter who you spoke with, whether they were gurus or leaders or organizations. At the end of the day, it seemed from their actions that it was about the bottom line. It was about the dollar amount. And a lot of the time I would get pushed away from these leaders because I wanted to do something good or creative or artistic or new or unique or just something that was out of the box. And of course I didn't know how, but I trusted, and I was like, we're around great energy. We could figure out the solutions together. Why can't we just trust and move forward with that level of intention? And constantly people would say to me, oh, but we don't have a plan. And then I got curious and I asked, well, is that me suffering or is that them suffering? Because when you're in your head, you're dead. And if you can't trust yourself to make a decision based off of something greater than yourself, then are you really tapping into the true trust of understanding that you are a vessel? And the more I got curious and the more I realized that, these are all just my mirrors. These are all just reflections back at me. And if most people are not, I was about to say everybody, if most people are focused on the benefit of themselves, and that's kind of the way that, then maybe I need to go and spend some time alone, even more time alone. And I was, when Sagitas reached out to me, I was suffering. I was like, trying to get into these organizations, figuring out how to benefit and what to do to integrate. And what I realized is that, everybody is, again, most people are really focused on that bottom line. Who cares about the people? Who cares about the value that they bring, the creativity and the brilliance and the wisdom that, any person, whether, they're sitting at a desk, securing the office or sweeping the floor, most people don't get curious about those people because they don't actually think, they don't see the value of the human potential And if you really understand the value of human potential, you understand its creative nature, because it is nature. And when I discovered Bitcoin in the community for the first time in my life, and I've been on this journey for a while, everybody was, and I'm not even saying most people now. Now I'm saying everybody on purpose. Everybody, everybody was super creative, super influential, super solution oriented, super expansive, thinking big, brilliant, intelligent, and had a desire and a knowing that they could do it together. And even if they didn't know, they said, let's figure it out. And this is what was really different for me. This is what was really powerful for me. It inspired me because I realized that, I was around a very broken perspective. And Napoleon Hill calls this the divine economy, the perspective of the new perspective of offering more than you ever expect to receive. And it's a law of success. If you just keep putting that effort, it becomes, and you have a low time preference, all of that comes back to you. But you gotta trust. You gotta have faith. And most people are so focused on immediate gratification that they don't even know what that low time preference means. So this is what changed for me, and I'm curious to ask you, Shaw, you being in school and you really like being kind of like the youth, the youngest of us all, how does this like really resonate in today's kind of school culture, or the experience of thinking different ideas, or how are you recognizing or seeing this in the current experience of your own life?
You mean just like how the system currently is?
I'm curious to know more about how this resonates with your internal being, and how you see you're seeing maybe gaps that are not helping you grow, or maybe you are seeing opportunities to help you grow. I don't know. I'm curious. I don't want to put anything in your mind. I'm just curious.
No. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would say I really have started seeing things a lot clearer in the past few weeks, of just like, I kind of just had a realization moment of like how we all are a part of this system. Like, I think I was so stuck in my own, like, just getting through my day to day before I hadn't realized it. But I just saw how everybody there was just kind of being taught to be a little bit of a robot, and not that people who are coming out of the school system still can't come out and do great and creative things. They can, but I just also saw how many like limitations are there. Even like when I talked to my entrepreneurship teacher, and I'm like trying to present a way of doing something that's slightly different than what the assignment is, but it'll still get the assignment done, and it'll actually probably benefit my team more. She like, she'll almost get upset. Like, she'll have to act like she's not, because she's our teacher, you know what I mean? But I can see her like, oh, you're not doing it my way. Like, you know what I mean? So this whole way of, this whole system is just set up to suppress that creativity. And I see it. I've talked with a lot of my friends who are in different classes, and I always ask them like, what do you like? Like, what drives you? What motivates you? And a lot of them are like, I have no idea. I have no idea. I've just been told I have to be here. I have to get this done. You know what I mean? And um, I was like, do you even enjoy like the major that you have? And they're like, I don't know. And a lot of them don't even know if they're going to be happy after they get that job that they've been told that they're supposed to get. So I totally feel like all of these topics that we've been discussing tie directly into more what my life looks like in college. And I see it personally for myself as well. I mean, I've made a commitment to get this degree that is my associate's, but my heart kind of elsewhere. But now I'm trying to just, I'm sticking to my commitment because that's what I have to do. But I really just want to keep creating with Meijing, and now we're collaborating with you, Eric, and so that's where my heart lies. And it's been hard for me to just like realize that and then go back to sitting in a classroom and feeling restrained and constricted. But it's good. I don't know if that all made sense. I probably went in a little bit of some circles there, but
no, it makes sense. It resonates.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So I'm curious too, what do you all feel like could be a few steps that we can all take from this conversation and integrate more into our businesses, into our communities, into our ways of being, so that if anybody's listening or watching this back is like, hey, I'd love to also mirror that.
So I feel like a lot of us are quite stuck in that fogginess of what Shaw was saying. It's almost that like brain space of like almost like you completely dead to the world. It's almost like you actually have no heartbeats in you anymore. And also what we were saying about that money pushing us and focusing on money to get somewhere rather than an actual purpose. I feel like a really awesome analogy, which I always like to come to, it's looking at a chessboard, and you'll find yourself, if you're that person that's very focused on money and that limited mindset, you're almost that like little pawn on the chessboard. All you can see is one step in front of you and where the next place is that you're going to get money, and you'll actually self-sabotage yourself at the end of the day to get that money. Whereas I like to say, if you want to go that step ahead, you look at the chessboard as a complete whole. So you almost take yourself out of that chessboard as the player playing the chessboard and seeing it like a game. So seeing it as you can be any piece on that chessboard, and you can see how each piece of the chessboard connects to each other. So like in real life, you can see how you connect to nature and how nature is acting at the moment, and then how businesses are working together, and you're able to really get that full view of everything. And then also just to touch on the creativity part of it, I feel like when I think of creativity, I think of self-discovery, and I feel like they go very hand in hand together. So when you want to be creative, just like the creator that created everything, you almost have to tap into that self-discovery place in order to create more things. So you tap into like this real beautiful inner energy, and that allows you to create things. So yeah, I think that's very, very important. And just a little bit off topic, something that really stands out to me of what all of us can do in order to almost come into that space of almost feeling and connecting again. And it's maybe very off topic to what like you would think it is, but I feel like it comes down to also what we're eating. So our food that nourishes our body is so important, because we fall into this habit of focusing on eating fast foods and just this quick takeaway and all of that, but that's the thing that's actually giving us life. That's the thing making every single cell of our bodies light up. Now, do you think like a McDonald's burger is going to light up the soul that you want to now create with? And it just doesn't work that way. So like I actually went through quite a hectic journey with Robin. I was very ill about a year ago. I was suffering with like extreme thyroid issues. I had a very hypoactive thyroid, so very underactive. And I actually miraculously found this lady who believes in how fruits heal you. And I know it sounds like one of those things that everyone goes to and like, oh, we're just another one of these things again. And I've honestly been through everything. And this thing of fruits and fruits alone is literally our foundation. If you think about it, there's no more simple food than fruits. And I feel like that's what we all need to try and do, is simplify things. There's like so much of clutter and so much commercialized things, and everything is like so much, like we're so sick of all this busyness constantly that we just need to like almost come back to our roots again, see where we come from, connect to our roots and our ancestors, you know, connect to those fruits that actually are the purest form of our foods, and realize that that is where the energy lies, is eating fruits. And yeah, just to touch on, or to finish off with my story, my thyroid has completely healed since I was just eating fruits for 6 months. I ate fruits mainly for 6 months straight. And you're not like starving yourself, you eat a lot of fruits. But yeah, that was quite a life change for me. And yeah, I think there's a lot. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I think you've got a lot to say with that as well.
No, I agree. We resonate on nearly everything. And the whole thing about you are what you eat. It's the most superficial statement we have nowadays that has so much truth and so much depth to it. And I think if everybody could take that to heart, that you are what you eat, and not just what you eat, what you consume, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're repeating, what you're touching, what you're engaging with, what you're giving your energy to, what you're allowing to take energy from you. If we can just create that level of awareness of this ecosystem that we're in, that on its own solves most of the problems I think we're talking about here. So I really do believe that simplifying a lot and really just going back to, as Crystal said, the core fundamentals of what it means to be a human being. And I think this is one of the right steps, because we are connection, we are love, we are a community. Yeah.
And we can't be great leaders unless we are like thriving in our bodies. Like if we're sitting and we have all these health issues and diseases, and you know, we kind of like in yoga, you like blocked in all these parts of your body, so things aren't flowing. So if you're not flowing internally, how do you expect things to flow externally? So that's where I'm very focused on at the moment.
Beautiful words. So true. So we have 4 minutes left to go. I want to just respect everybody's time. You know, I know we all have things to do. So any last thoughts, comments, and Meijing, before actually anybody says it, maybe you want to share a little bit about the event, the Youth Festival, and you know what's being kind of curated so that anybody that's watching back can really get more curious about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Youth Festival that we're curating, that's happening in July 2024 here in Oregon, is built. It's a space that came to us. It's a beautiful place around nature, around trees that are centuries old. So we're being held by Grandmother Earth, which is the foundation. We're really creating a space where youth leaders, entrepreneurs, change makers, people that want to make a change. They might have ideas, they might not have ideas, but they know they want something. They want to create something. We're creating this festival so they can come nurture themselves spiritually. They can understand the awareness part of what's going on in their thoughts. We're bringing in top chefs that are going to help us and teach us what is going on in our body and how we can nurture our being through what we're consuming. We're bringing speakers that are leaders in their space when it comes to AI marketing, through future of currency, so they can so we as youth can understand where the future is going, where that puck is going, and not where it's at. So this youth festival is a place where youth come together. We come as a community, we create projects, we get mentored by these leaders that are conscious, and we come out of this festival feeling feeling light, feeling like we have possibilities that we can create, and we have a vehicle that we can go out in the world and build. So the overall idea of the festival is really to come together as a collective and then come out of it, and us individually create even more, sprout different forests and trees and gardens around wherever it is, the communities that we live in, while still being supported globally in these communities, this Lighthouse meeting that we have, and all these little things that we're creating, the ecosystems that we're creating, tools to make us feel supported after the festival. So a festival is the perfect place to come and feel like we can create. So it's a space in person, because it's very important to have a place where we unite in person. So if you have the ability to come to America and experience this festival, it's gonna be life-changing. It's beautiful. It's 5 days. And if anybody else that can't come to America, don't worry, because this is a global movement. So we are moving it around the world, and we're shifting it every year. So it's an annual festival.
Where can they find it, and what specific, like, where can they find more information? What specific dates again?
Yeah, so it's July 15th to the 20th. It's 5 days. And you can find it at rqglobal.org/youth festival. We can put the link probably on the chat here or on the bio. So you guys can look at the landing page, check it out. There's information, there's a fact sheet in there. And yeah, so that's where you can find it. And those are the dates, July 15th to the 20th, 2024.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Meijing. And last 2 seconds, or everybody just last 2 words you want to kind of give to everybody that's watching this, kind of like to give them an awareness of stepping into a more sovereign or responsible role as entrepreneurs. Anybody? A few people? Anybody? Please go ahead. Tomas.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I wanted to add, guys, is because Eric mentioned earlier that he found himself at a place where everybody was just going for the bottom line, and you didn't feel that your true intentions were being reflected by your peers or the people that you were seeking advice from. Isaac Newton, famous inventor Isaac Newton, once said, and I know this because I have a sticker on my laptop to remind myself of this every day. It says, or he said, if I've seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulder of giants. So if you surround yourself by people who know the same or less than you, there's no way you're going to learn anything new or create something bigger than yourself. If you want to keep moving forward, you want to keep progressing, if you want to keep building, constructing, you have to seek advice and drain energy from people more powerful, more knowledgeable than you. And that not necessarily means higher power or higher acquisitive wealth. You can learn something new from anyone, no matter the social status. You can be a non-expert in botanical stuff and learn something from a farmer, or have no idea about crypto and learn something from a teenager, you know. But if you want to learn, keep growing, you have to surround yourself by people who know more than you. That's my biggest advice, my bottom line. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thank you. You guys, like, we got to run, but I got like 30 seconds left. Anybody got last words?
So I feel calling to jump in with the last words, 30 seconds. So the ancestors were busy surviving mainly and building roads and railways for us to do something with it. So therefore, I think we go.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do it. In the honor of our ancestors. Yes.
Yes.
Love you all. Thank you so much.